Hello there, and welcome to the Silent Scientist channel. Tonight, we drift into the most familiar yet mysterious experience of human existence. Every evening, you close your eyes and surrender to something ancient, something that predates civilization itself. Sleep wraps around you like a tide, pulling your mind away from the waking world and into territories no map can chart. And there, in that strange country between consciousness and oblivion, you dream. What happens during those quiet hours when your body rests, but your brain blazes with activity? Why does a third of your life vanish into darkness, only to return each morning with memories that dissolve like morning fog? Scientists have spent decades peering into the sleeping mind, and what they have discovered challenges everything we thought we knew about rest, consciousness, and what it means to be human. If you enjoy these peaceful explorations into the hidden workings of our world, I invite you to like this video, subscribe to the Silent Scientist channel, or share your thoughts in the comments below. It helps other curious minds find their way here, one dreamer at a time. For now, settle into comfort. Let the weight of the day release from your shoulders. Allow your breathing to slow and deepen. Tonight, we explore the quiet mysteries of sleep and dreams, where science meets wonder in the most intimate theater your mind will ever know. Let us begin. The great mystery: why do we sleep? For most of human history, sleep was viewed as a kind of little death, a nightly rehearsal for the final silence. Ancient peoples believed the soul left the body during sleep to wander other realms, returning each dawn with strange stories that became dreams. The Greeks thought sleep was the brother of death, twin sons of night, dwelling in a cave where daylight never reached. In medieval Europe, people feared that sleeping too deeply might allow demons to steal into an unguarded mind. Even as recently as the 19th century, scientists considered sleep a passive state, a simple shutdown of the body's systems to conserve energy. The brain, they assumed, simply turned off like a lamp snuffed at bedtime. Rest was rest, nothing more. Sleep existed because the body needed recovery from the exhaustion of waking life, the way a machine might cool after hours of operation. Then came the 20th century, and everything changed. Sleep, it turned out, was not passive at all. The sleeping brain does not rest. It transforms, it reorganizes, it creates. Far from being a simple power-down sequence, sleep is one of the most complex and active processes the nervous system undertakes. Your brain consumes nearly as much energy during certain stages of sleep as it does when you are wide awake and solving difficult problems. But why? That question has puzzled scientists for generations. Sleep makes us vulnerable. For hours each night, we lie unconscious, unable to respond to threats, unable to forage for food, unable to defend territory or care for offspring. From an evolutionary perspective, sleep seems like a terrible design flaw. Any ancestor who slept too deeply might have been eaten by predators. Any creature that needed 8 hours of unconsciousness each night should have been eliminated by natural selection long ago. Yet sleep persists, not just in humans, but across nearly the entire animal kingdom. Mammals sleep, birds sleep, reptiles sleep, fish sleep. Even insects show sleep-like states where they become less responsive to their surroundings and require recovery if deprived of rest. Dolphins and whales have evolved a remarkable adaptation where half their brain sleeps while the other half remains alert, allowing them to surface for air and watch for danger. But they still sleep. They must. This universality suggests that sleep serves functions so critical, so irreplaceable, that evolution has protected it despite its obvious costs. What could be worth such risk? What happens during sleep that cannot happen during waking hours? The answers lie in the intricate architecture of sleep itself. In the stages your brain cycles through each night, each one serving different and essential purposes. To understand sleep, you must first understand that not all sleep is the same. Your night unfolds in chapters, each with its own distinct character, each leaving its own mark on your mind and body. The architecture of sleep, stages and cycles. When you first close your eyes and begin to drift, you enter stage 1 of non-rapid eye movement sleep, abbreviated as NREM. This is the threshold, the border between waking and sleeping. Your brain waves, which were firing rapidly during alert consciousness, begin to slow. The high-frequency beta waves that characterize focused attention give way to gentler alpha waves, then to even slower theta waves as you slip deeper. Stage 1 lasts only a few minutes, a brief transition. Your muscles relax slightly, your breathing steadens, your heart rate begins to drop. During this phase, you might experience sudden jerks or twitches, involuntary movements called hypnic jerks. Scientists believe these occur because the brain systems controlling waking are shutting down, while the systems controlling sleep are starting up. And in that handoff, signals sometimes misfire. Your body interprets a sensory glitch as falling, and your muscles contract reflexively to catch you. If someone speaks your name during stage 1, you will likely hear them and wake easily. You exist in a fragile state, hovering between two worlds. Many people awakened from stage 1 insist they were never truly asleep at all, merely resting with their eyes closed. The boundary is that thin. Then you descend into stage 2 NRM sleep, where you spend roughly half of your entire night. Your body temperature begins to drop. Eye movements cease. Your heart rate and breathing slow further. But the most distinctive feature of stage 2 appears in your brain waves themselves. Electroencephalogram recordings from scalps of sleeping people reveal two characteristic patterns during this stage: sleep spindles and K complexes. Sleep spindles are brief bursts of rapid oscillations, typically lasting 1 to 2 seconds, firing at 12 to 14 cycles per second. They appear suddenly, spike sharply, then vanish, recurring throughout stage 2. These spindles seem to play a crucial role in memory consolidation, helping transfer information from temporary storage in the hippocampus to more permanent storage in the cortex. They also appear to protect sleep itself, suppressing the brain's response to external sounds and sensations that might otherwise wake you. K complexes are single large waves, sharp peaks followed immediately by deep troughs, lasting about a second. They represent brief synchronizations of neural activity across large portions of the brain. Scientists believe K complexes may serve as a kind of sentinel system, monitoring the environment for danger without fully waking you. When a sudden sound occurs nearby, a K complex often fires, evaluating the stimulus and either allowing you to continue sleeping or, if the sound is significant enough, triggering an arousal toward wakefulness. Stage 2 is not deep sleep, but it is real sleep. You are firmly unconscious now. It would take a louder sound or a more forceful touch to wake you. Your mind drifts through fragmented thoughts and images, not quite dreams, but not quite waking cognition either. This is the longest stage by duration across the night, a stable plateau where your body performs steady maintenance work. Then comes stage 3, the deepest valley of sleep, sometimes called slow wave sleep or delta sleep. Your brain waves slow dramatically, dropping to just 1 to 4 cycles per second. These delta waves are enormous compared to the rapid flickers of waking consciousness, rolling across the cortex like slow ocean swells. The amplitude of these waves, the height from trough to peak, can be 75 microvolts or more, dwarfing the tiny ripples of alert thought. During stage 3, your body reaches its most profound state of relaxation. Muscles are deeply at ease, but not paralyzed. Blood pressure drops significantly. Heart rate reaches its nightly low. Growth hormone floods your bloodstream, released in pulses from the pituitary gland, stimulating repair of tissues, building of muscle, and strengthening of bone. Children and adolescents spend more time in stage 3 than adults because their bodies are actively growing, and growth hormone surges during this deepest sleep. Waking someone from stage 3 is difficult. Even loud sounds, up to 100 decibels, the volume of a chainsaw or a rock concert, may not rouse them. If you do manage to shake someone awake from deep sleep, they will be profoundly disoriented, groggy, and confused for several minutes as their cortex struggles to reactivate higher functions. This grogginess is called sleep inertia, and it reveals just how far the brain has traveled from wakefulness during stage 3. Most of your deep sleep occurs during the first third of the night, concentrated in the early cycles when your body's need for restoration is greatest. As the night progresses, you spend less and less time in stage 3, your later cycles skimming through lighter stages instead. But sleep does not end with stage 3. The brain has one more surprise waiting. After perhaps 70 to 90 minutes of cycling through these NRM stages, something remarkable happens. Your eyes begin to move rapidly beneath your closed lids. Your brain waves suddenly accelerate, looking almost indistinguishable from the pattern of waking consciousness. Your breathing becomes irregular. Your heart rate increases. Males experience penile erections. Females show increased blood flow to the vagina. Yet your major voluntary muscles become temporarily paralyzed, held immobile by signals from the brainstem. You have entered REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, and here, in the strangest of all sleep stages, you will dream your most vivid dreams. The discovery of REM sleep and the dreaming brain. The year was 1953, and sleep research was about to be revolutionized. Eugene Oserinsky, a graduate student at the University of Chicago, was working in Nathaniel Kleitman's sleep laboratory, studying eye movements in sleeping infants. The equipment was crude by modern standards, but it allowed Oserinsky to detect motion beneath the closed eyelids of his young subjects. Late one night, Oserinsky noticed something peculiar. After the babies had been asleep for about an hour, their eyes began moving rapidly from side to side, as if they were watching something. The movements came in bursts lasting several minutes, then subsided, then returned again later in the night. At first, Oserinsky suspected equipment malfunction. Sleeping people were not supposed to move their eyes. Sleep was passive, quiet, still. But the recordings were clear and repeatable. When Oserinsky extended his observations to adult subjects, including himself and Kleitman, the same pattern emerged. About 60 to 90 minutes after falling asleep, every subject entered a period of rapid eye movements, accompanied by dramatic changes in brainwave patterns and breathing irregularities. The stages happen cyclically throughout the night, recurring every 90 minutes or so, like clockwork. Aserinsky and Kleitman made a bold decision. They began waking subjects during these rapid eye movement periods and asking them what they had been experiencing. The results were stunning. When awakened during REM sleep, subjects reported vivid, bizarre, emotionally intense dreams about 80% of the time. They remembered complex narratives, visual imagery, conversations, and strange events. They described being fully immersed in the dream experience, rarely questioning its impossibilities while asleep. When the researchers woke people during non-REM stages, particularly the lighter stages 1 and 2, subjects reported dreams only about 30 to 50% of the time, and these dreams were usually vague, thought-like, realistic, and less emotionally engaging. Deep stage 3 sleep yielded even fewer dream reports. The correlation was undeniable. REM sleep was the primary stage of dreaming. This discovery transformed sleep science. Sleep was not a single uniform state, but a complex cycling between distinctly different brain conditions. REM sleep, sometimes called paradoxical sleep because the brain appears awake while the body sleeps, became a central focus of research. Scientists wanted to understand what was happening in the brain during this strange state that produced such powerful subjective experiences. Neuroimaging studies using positron emission tomography and functional magnetic resonance imaging eventually revealed the neural signature of REM sleep. Compared to waking consciousness, REM sleep shows intense activation in several key brain regions. The pontine tegmentum in the brainstem, which generates the rapid eye movements and triggers the muscle paralysis, becomes highly active. The thalamus, which normally gates sensory information flowing to the cortex, switches modes, now broadcasting internally generated signals instead of external inputs. Limbic structures, particularly the amygdala and hippocampus, blaze with activity during REM sleep. The amygdala processes emotions, and its heightened activity explains why REM dreams often carry such strong feelings, from euphoria to terror. The hippocampus, critical for memory formation, works to consolidate experiences from the previous day, integrating them into long-term storage. Visual areas in the occipital and temporal cortex activate intensely, creating the vivid imagery that fills dreams even though our eyes are closed and no light enters. But some areas show decreased activity during REM compared to waking. The dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, responsible for logical reasoning, planning, and reality testing, becomes relatively quiet. This explains why dreams feel so real while we experience them. The parts of our brain that would normally recognize impossibilities, that would question why we are suddenly in our childhood home, talking to people who have been dead for years, are offline. Without that critical oversight, the bizarre becomes plausible. The muscle paralysis of REM sleep serves a protective function. During REM, your motor cortex generates signals for movement as you dream about running, fighting, or reaching for objects. If those signals reached your muscles, you would physically act out your dreams, potentially injuring yourself or others. The brainstem circuits responsible for REM paralysis prevent this by blocking the transmission of motor commands to the spinal cord. Only the diaphragm and external eye muscles remain active, allowing you to breathe and produce the characteristic rapid eye movements. Researchers have documented what happens when this paralysis system malfunctions. in a condition called REM sleep behavior disorder, usually seen in older adults or people with certain neurological diseases. The muscle paralysis fails. Sufferers act out their dreams, sometimes violently, punching, kicking, or leaping from bed. They can hurt themselves and their sleeping partners. Treatment often involves medications to restore the paralysis mechanism or physical safeguards like sleeping in padded environments. The cyclical nature of REM sleep creates a predictable architecture across the night. The first REM period typically occurs about 70 to 90 minutes after you fall asleep and lasts only 5 to 10 minutes. As the night progresses, REM periods grow longer, and NREM periods, especially deep stage 3, grow shorter. By the final cycle before morning, you might spend 30 to 60 minutes in continuous REM sleep, which is why you often wake from a dream or remember your last dream of the night most clearly. This cycling pattern is not arbitrary. It reflects the brain's needs. Early in the night, when you are most physically exhausted, deep slow-wave sleep dominates, allowing maximum physical restoration. Later in the night, as your body's immediate recovery needs are met, the brain shifts resources toward REM sleep for psychological and cognitive restoration. Dreams become longer, more complex, more elaborate. Across a typical 8-hour night, a young adult spends about 5 to 10% of the time in stage 1, 45 to 55% in stage 2, 15 to 25% in stage 3, and 20 to 25% in REM. These proportions shift across the lifespan. Infants spend up to 8 hours per day in REM, possibly because their brains are undergoing rapid development. Older adults may get little or no stage 3 sleep. Though their need for restoration does not disappear with age, it simply manifests differently. The deep restoration of slow-wave sleep, while REM sleep captures the imagination with its vivid dreams, stage 3 slow-wave sleep performs equally vital work, operating in the background like essential infrastructure. During deep sleep, your brain does not create elaborate narratives. It cleans house. The discovery of the glymphatic system in the brain revolutionized our understanding of sleep's restorative functions. Your brain lacks a traditional lymphatic system for waste removal, so scientists long wondered how metabolic waste products were cleared from neural tissue. Then, in 2012, researchers made a breakthrough discovery that during deep sleep, the spaces between brain cells expand by up to 60%. Cerebrospinal fluid flows through those widened channels, flushing out accumulated proteins and cellular debris. One particularly important waste product is beta amyloid, a protein that forms sticky plaques in the brains of Alzheimer's disease patients. During waking hours, metabolically active neurons produce beta amyloid as a byproduct. If allowed to accumulate, it aggregates into plaques that disrupt neural function and contribute to cognitive decline. Deep sleep provides a nightly cleaning cycle that prevents this buildup. Studies have shown that even a single night of sleep deprivation significantly increases beta amyloid levels in the brain. This waste clearance system preferentially operates during slow-wave sleep because the slow, synchronized delta waves appear to coordinate the pulsing flow of cerebrospinal fluid. The rhythmic electrical activity seems to create mechanical pressure waves that drive fluid movement. Without sufficient deep sleep, researchers have found that this cleaning process becomes less efficient, which could potentially contribute to neurodegeneration over time, though the exact relationship remains an active area of study. Growth hormone released during stage 3 supports another form of restoration. This hormone does not just stimulate physical growth in children. In adults, it promotes tissue repair, strengthens immune function, and helps regulate metabolism. Athletic recovery relies heavily on deep sleep. Muscles damaged by exercise rebuild themselves most efficiently during stage 3, when growth hormone concentrations peak. Athletes who do not get adequate deep sleep show impaired performance, slower reaction times, and increased injury risk. Memory consolidation also occurs powerfully during deep sleep, though differently than during REM. While REM sleep appears to integrate emotional experiences and procedural memories like motor skills, slow-wave sleep specializes in consolidating declarative memories, facts, and information you can consciously recall. During stage 3, the hippocampus replays neural patterns that were active during learning, effectively rehearsing new information. These replays, sometimes called memory replay or neural replay, transfer information from the hippocampus to the cortex for long-term storage. Studies have demonstrated this convincingly. When researchers train people on memory tasks, then monitor their brains during subsequent sleep, they can detect patterns of neural activity during slow-wave sleep that mirror the patterns seen during learning. If they disrupt this replay using targeted stimulation, memory consolidation fails. If they enhance it using electrical stimulation to boost slow oscillations, memory performance improves. The slow waves themselves result from highly synchronized activity across millions of neurons. During waking consciousness, neurons fire independently, their activity creating a noisy, desynchronized pattern. But during deep sleep, neurons begin oscillating in unison. Large groups flip between active and silent states together, creating the characteristic slow rise and fall seen in electroencephalogram recordings. This synchronization appears crucial for both waste clearance and memory consolidation. The silence periods, when neurons are not firing, may allow the glymphatic system to work most efficiently. The active periods allow memory replay to occur in coordinated fashion across brain regions. The oscillation between these states creates windows of opportunity for different restorative processes. Interestingly, slow-wave sleep shows remarkable flexibility based on need. If you sleep poorly one night, getting less stage 3 than usual, your brain compensates the following night by diving more quickly and deeply into slow-wave sleep, a phenomenon called sleep pressure or sleep debt. Your body knows how much deep sleep you need, and it will prioritize getting it, even if it means shortening other sleep stages. Conversely, if you are well rested, you may skip stage 3 entirely during later cycles, spending more time in lighter stage 2 and longer REM periods. Your brain dynamically allocates sleep stages based on what it needs most. This adaptive process operates mostly unconsciously, driven by complex interactions between sleep-promoting and wake-promoting neurons in the brainstem and hypothalamus. Temperature plays a role in facilitating deep sleep. Core body temperature drops during sleep, reaching its lowest point in the early morning hours. This cooling appears necessary for entering and maintaining stage 3. When researchers experimentally prevent the nighttime temperature drop, subjects have difficulty achieving deep sleep. Conversely, taking a warm bath before bed which paradoxically helps you cool down faster once you are out of the water, can promote deeper sleep by accelerating the temperature decline. The profound grogginess experienced when awakened from stage 3 reflects the brain's distance from waking function. During deep sleep, the frontal cortex, which handles executive functions like planning and decision-making, shows dramatically reduced activity. Blood flow decreases to these regions. When suddenly awakened, it takes time for blood flow to recover and for these areas to come back online. For several minutes, you may struggle to think clearly, answer simple questions, or even remember where you are. This sleep inertia typically resolves within 15 to 30 minutes, though it can last an hour after very deep sleep. As we age, our ability to generate deep, slow-wave sleep declines. By the time people reach their 60s and 70s, stage 3 may occupy only 5 to 10% of their night, or disappear entirely. The amplitude of delta waves decreases with age. Older adults often complain that their sleep feels less refreshing, and this loss of deep sleep likely contributes. The restorative processes that depend on slow-wave sleep, waste clearance, growth hormone release, and memory consolidation become less efficient. Researchers are exploring ways to enhance slow-wave sleep in older adults, including acoustic stimulation that delivers gentle tones synchronized with delta waves to amplify them, and transcranial electrical stimulation to boost slow oscillations directly. Early results show promise, suggesting it may be possible to artificially restore some of the deep sleep lost to aging. The phenomenon of dreaming. A theater of the mind dreams have fascinated humanity since consciousness first emerged. Every culture has developed theories to explain these nightly visions. Some believed dreams were messages from gods or ancestors. Others thought they revealed the future or provided glimpses of other realms. Freud famously proposed that dreams expressed unconscious wishes disguised in symbolic form to evade the censoring mechanisms of the conscious mind. Modern neuroscience offers a different perspective, though one no less fascinating. Dreams appear to be the brain's attempts to make sense of spontaneous neural activity during sleep, particularly during REM, when the sensory cortex and emotional centers are highly active but disconnected from external input. Your brain, denied real sensory data, creates its own. It generates a simulation of reality, often bizarre and illogical, by combining memory fragments, recent experiences, emotional concerns, and random neural noise into a coherent narrative. The content of dreams reflects the brain regions active during REM. Visual areas are strongly activated, so dreams are predominantly visual experiences. You see people, places, objects, and events with remarkable clarity. Auditory areas are also active, so you hear voices, music, and sounds in dreams. However, other sensory modalities are less reliably represented. Only about 30% of dreams include clear sensations of taste or smell. Physical pain is rarely experienced in dreams, perhaps because the pain processing regions of the brain are relatively quiet during REM. Emotions saturate dreams far more intensely than sensory details. The amygdala's heightened activity during REM ensures that dreams carry powerful feelings. You may feel overwhelming joy, crushing sadness, paralyzing fear, or burning anger. Often these emotions seem disproportionate to the dream events themselves, suggesting the brain is not just reacting to the dream narrative, but actively generating emotion independent of content. One influential theory proposed by researcher Rosalind Cartwright and others suggests that dreams serve an emotional regulation function. According to this interpretation, during a REM sleep, your brain processes emotionally significant experiences from waking life, integrating them into your existing emotional and autobiographical memory networks. Dreams may allow you to rehearse emotional responses in a safe environment, work through unresolved feelings, and update your models of self and world based on recent experiences. Evidence for this emotional processing role comes from several sources. People experiencing significant life stress, relationship problems, or traumatic events often have more emotionally intense dreams. Those who are prevented from achieving REM sleep through medications or disorders show increased emotional reactivity, difficulty regulating feelings, and heightened anxiety during waking hours. Conversely, people who get adequate REM sleep report better emotional resilience and psychological well-being. Another theory, the threat simulation hypothesis, proposed by Finnish psychologist Antti Revonsuo, suggests dreams may serve an evolutionary function by allowing us to practice responses to dangerous situations. According to this view, dreams preferentially simulate threatening scenarios, predators, conflicts, falls, pursuits, giving our ancestors opportunities to rehearse survival responses without real risk. The frequency of negative emotions and threatening content in dreams offers some support for this interpretation, though critics point out that many dreams lack obvious threatening content. A third prominent theory focuses on memory consolidation. Based on this view, dreams may reflect the brain's active process of deciding what experiences to retain and what to discard, sorting through the day's events and integrating important information into long-term memory structures. When you dream about struggling with a test, being late for an important meeting, or trying to communicate but being unable to speak clearly, you may be processing anxieties and concerns about performance and competence, themes that recur because they hold emotional and survival significance. Researchers have found that incorporating new learning into dreams correlates with better memory retention. In one study, people learning to navigate a complex virtual maze showed improved performance if they dreamed about the maze. Those who simply rested without dreaming or who dreamed about other topics showed less improvement. The act of dreaming about the learning material appeared to strengthen the memories. The bizarre nature of dreams has also attracted scientific attention. Why do dreams so often violate the laws of physics, logic, and social convention? You might find yourself flying, talking to deceased relatives, or suddenly transported to impossible locations without questioning any of it until you wake. The answer lies partly in the decreased activity of the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex during REM. This brain region normally monitors internal experiences for consistency and plausibility. With it dimmed, your brain accepts impossible scenarios without criticism. Additionally, the neural connections that link concepts and memories appear to become more flexible during REM sleep. Associations that would be suppressed during waking thought emerge freely. This increased associative thinking may help explain the creative breakthroughs that sometimes occur in dreams. Paul McCartney claimed the melody for Yesterday came to him in a dream. Auguste Kekulé reportedly dreamed of a snake biting its own tail, which led to his discovery of the benzene ring structure While such dramatic inspirations are rare, they illustrate the creative potential of the dreaming mind's loosened constraints. Not everyone remembers their dreams equally. Some people recall dreams nearly every morning, while others insist they never dream at all. Laboratory studies confirm that everyone dreams multiple times per night, entering REM sleep several cycles regardless of whether they remember those dreams upon waking. The difference lies in dream recall, not dream frequency. Several factors influence dream recall. People awakened directly from REM sleep remember their dreams far more reliably than those who wake during NREM stages or who transition through other sleep stages before fully waking. The brain regions responsible for encoding memories are less active during sleep, which means dream memories form weakly. Unless you wake during or immediately after a dream, the memory often fades before it can be consolidated. Personality factors also play a role. People with higher levels of creativity, openness to experience, and visual imagination tend to remember more dreams. Those who pay attention to their dreams, recording them in journals or discussing them with others, also show better recall, possibly because they are training their brains to prioritize dream memory formation. Brain imaging studies of frequent dream recallers compared to rare recallers show intriguing differences. Frequent recallers have increased activity in the temporoparietal junction and medial prefrontal cortex, regions associated with attention to internal states and self-referential thinking. They also show more frequent brief awakenings during the night, moments when they might partially rouse and encode dream memories before drifting back to sleep. These findings suggest that differences in dream recall may relate more to how attention is directed and memory is encoded during sleep, rather than differences in the dreams themselves. The content of dreams tends to incorporate recent experiences, a phenomenon called the day residue effect. Elements from the previous day, people you encountered, places you visited, problems you worked on, appear frequently in dreams. However, dreams rarely replay experiences exactly. Instead, they remix and recombine fragments, blending yesterday's meeting with a childhood memory, setting it in an impossible hybrid location, and adding emotional tones that may or may not match the original context. A curious temporal pattern appears in dream incorporation. Events from the previous day show up frequently, then there is a drop-off, and then content from about a week ago shows another peak of incorporation, called the dream lag effect. Scientists speculate this pattern might reflect two stages of memory processing: immediate consolidation, and then a later integration phase when the brain connects recent experiences to older memories, though the exact mechanisms remain unclear. Lucid dreaming, consciousness within sleep. Among all the phenomena of dreaming, none is more intriguing than lucid dreaming, the experience of becoming aware that you are dreaming while the dream is still happening. In a lucid dream, you recognize the impossibility of your surroundings, realize you are asleep, yet remain within the dream rather than waking. For some, this awareness brings a sense of control, allowing them to direct the dream's narrative, fly at will, alter the environment, or confront fears in a safe space. Lucid dreaming has been documented for millennia. Aristotle wrote about consciousness during dreams in the 4th century BCE. Tibetan Buddhist practitioners developed elaborate techniques for cultivating dream awareness as part of spiritual training. But Western science remains skeptical of lucid dreaming until 1975, when British parapsychologist Keith Hearn recorded the first laboratory verification. Hearn worked with a lucid dreamer named Alan Worsley. Before sleep, they agreed that if Worsley became lucid during a dream, he would move his eyes in a specific pattern, left, right, 8 times in rapid succession. Eye muscles are not paralyzed during REM sleep, so if Worsley succeeded, the signals would appear on the electroculogram recording. That night, Worsley achieved lucidity and successfully transmitted the agreed-upon eye movement pattern. The recording showed clear, volitional signals emerging from REM sleep, proving that consciousness could arise within the dream state. This breakthrough opened a new field of research. Stephen LaBerge at Stanford developed similar techniques and trained numerous lucid dreamers who could signal when they became aware within dreams. These eye signals allowed researchers to timestamp the moment of lucidity precisely and study what happens in the brain when dreamers become conscious of dreaming. Brain imaging during lucid dreaming reveals a fascinating hybrid state. The brain activity pattern differs from both typical REM sleep and full waking consciousness. Regions that are normally quiet during REM, particularly the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex and areas in the parietal cortex, show increased activity during lucid dreams. These regions are associated with self-awareness, metacognition, and executive control. Their reactivation during lucidity suggests that lucid dreaming represents a partial restoration of waking-like consciousness within the REM state. A major study published in 2025, the largest brain imaging investigation of lucid dreaming to date, confirmed that lucid dreaming is not simply a blend of waking and REM, but a distinct state of consciousness with its own unique neural signature. The research team, led by Chartay Demirel at Radboud University, compiled data from multiple laboratories and found consistent patterns of brain activation and connectivity that differentiate lucid REM sleep from both non-lucid REM and ordinary waking consciousness. Lucid dreamers show enhanced communication between frontal regions involved in conscious awareness and posterior regions processing sensory information, creating what researchers describe as a state where immersive dream experiences coexist with reflective self-awareness. Spontaneous lucid dreams occur at least once in the lifetime of about half the population, but regular lucid dreaming is rare. Most people who experience lucidity do so infrequently, perhaps a few times per year. This rarity has posed challenges for research, as scientists must wait for the elusive lucid dream to occur naturally during laboratory monitoring. To address this limitation, researchers have developed induction techniques. One of the most promising methods is called targeted lucidity reactivation, or TLR. This approach combines pre-sleep training with sensory cues delivered during REM sleep. Before sleeping, participants undergo training that associates a specific sound, often a series of beeps or a musical tone, with a particular mindset of lucidity, becoming aware of one's mental state, questioning reality, noticing details of surroundings. When participants enter REM sleep, the system plays the training sound quietly. Because the sound was paired with a lucid mindset during waking training, its presence during the dream often triggers the same mindset, prompting the dreamer to question whether they are awake or asleep. If they conclude they are dreaming, lucidity results. Recent research published in 2024 demonstrated that TLR can be successfully implemented using just a smartphone app, without expensive laboratory equipment. In one study, participants who used the app achieved an average of 2.1 lucid dreams per week, up from less than 1 per week before using the method. A control group that received training but either no sound cue during sleep or a different sound than the training cue showed significantly fewer lucid dreams, confirming that the combination of pre-sleep training and matching auditory cues during REM sleep effectively induces lucidity. Other induction methods exist as well. Reality testing involves regularly questioning during waking hours whether you are awake or dreaming, checking for dream signs like trying to push your finger through your palm, or reading text twice to see if it changes. The habit, practiced consistently, eventually transfers to dreams, where you perform the same reality check and discover you are indeed dreaming. Mnemonic induction techniques involve setting a strong intention before sleep to recognize when you are dreaming, often combined with waking briefly after several hours, reviewing your intention, then returning to sleep during a period rich in REM. Pharmacological approaches have also been explored. Galantamine, a medication used to treat Alzheimer's disease, enhances cholinergic transmission in the brain by inhibiting the breakdown of acetylcholine. Acetylcholine plays a crucial role in REM sleep generation, and studies have shown that taking galantamine during a brief waking period in the middle of the night significantly increases the likelihood of lucid dreaming during subsequent REM periods. However, using medications for lucid dream induction raises questions about safety and side effects, so such approaches should only be pursued under medical supervision. Why pursue lucid dreaming? Beyond the inherent fascination of exploring consciousness from within, lucid dreams offer practical benefits. Therapists have begun using lucid dreaming as a treatment for chronic nightmares, particularly in people with post-traumatic stress disorder. In a lucid nightmare, the dreamer can recognize they are safe, that the threat is not real, and either change the dream content or deliberately wake themselves. Research has shown that people can indeed learn to wake themselves intentionally from lucid dreams, providing a tool for escaping distressing dream scenarios. Athletes and performers use lucid dreams for mental rehearsal. During lucid REM sleep, the motor cortex activates in patterns similar to actual physical movement. Practicing a skill in a lucid dream may strengthen the same neural pathways used during real practice. Studies have demonstrated that lucid dream practice can improve performance on motor tasks, though not as effectively as actual physical practice. Creative problem solving represents another potential application. The lucid associative thinking of dreams combined with the directed attention of lucidity might allow novel solutions to emerge. Some researchers are exploring whether lucid dreamers can be given specific problems to work on during their dreams and then report their insights upon waking. Recent groundbreaking research has even demonstrated real-time two-way communication with lucid dreamers. In studies published in 2021, researchers across multiple laboratories showed that lucid dreamers could not only signal their awareness through eye movements, but could also perceive and respond to questions asked during the dream. Experimenters would speak simple mathematical problems or yes/no questions to sleeping participants. The lucid dreamers heard the questions incorporated into their dreams, sometimes as voices, sometimes as writing, and could answer using pre-agreed eye movement or facial muscle codes. This opens unprecedented possibilities for studying consciousness during sleep and potentially using dreams for learning, therapy, or creative work. The stability of lucid dreams varies. Some experienced lucid dreamers can maintain awareness for extended periods, navigating complex dream environments with full conscious control. Others find that the excitement of becoming lucid causes them to wake almost immediately. Training and practice improve stability. Techniques like spinning in place within the dream, rubbing your hands together, or focusing on sensory details can help prolong lucidity by engaging the dream content actively rather than becoming too metacognitively detached, which tends to trigger awakening. Hers. Sleep, memory, and learning. One of sleep's most critical functions is its role in learning and memory. The connection between sleep and memory has been recognized for over a century, but only in recent decades have scientists begun to understand the mechanisms involved. Memory formation occurs in stages. When you learn something new, the information first enters working memory, a temporary holding area with limited capacity. With attention and rehearsal, it transfers to short-term memory, where it can persist for minutes to hours. For information to become permanent, it must undergo consolidation, a process that transforms short-term memories into stable, long-term memories, resistant to interference and decay. Consolidation happens primarily during sleep. Studies consistently demonstrate that people who sleep after learning retain information better than those who remain awake for an equivalent period. Sleep deprivation impairs memory formation across all types of memory tasks. Even a single night without sleep significantly reduces the brain's ability to encode new information the following day. Different types of memories consolidate during different sleep stages. Declarative memories, facts and information you can consciously recall, preferentially consolidate during slow-wave sleep. The hippocampus replays memories during stage 3, transferring them to the cortex for long-term storage. This replay is not random but selective, prioritizing information tagged as important based on emotional significance or anticipated future relevance. Procedural memories, skills, and habits, like riding a bicycle or playing a musical instrument, consolidate more during REM sleep. Motor cortex activity during REM resembles the patterns seen during skill practice, suggesting the brain is rehearsing and refining motor programs offline. Musicians who sleep after practicing a new piece show greater improvement than those who simply rest or engage in other activities. The sleep benefit is specific to the practiced skill, indicating targeted consolidation rather than general recovery. Emotional memories receive special processing during REM sleep. The amygdala's high activity during REM suggests this stage integrates emotional experiences into autobiographical memory. However, REM appears to consolidate the emotional content while reducing the immediate visceral reaction. This process, sometimes called emotional depotentiation, may help you remember important emotional events without being overwhelmed by them each time you recall them. Research on trauma survivors suggests that normal REM sleep helps process traumatic memories by gradually separating the factual details of what happened from the intense emotional response. When this process fails, as it does in post-traumatic stress disorder, people experience intrusive memories that trigger the same intense fear or horror as the original event. Nightmares in PTSD often involve repetitive replay of traumatic content, possibly reflecting the brain's unsuccessful attempts to process and integrate the memory. Sleep also supports a process called systems consolidation, where memories distributed across multiple brain regions become more interconnected and integrated with existing knowledge networks. During sleep, the brain appears to discover relationships between separately learned pieces of information, extracting rules, patterns, and abstract concepts. Researchers have demonstrated this beautifully in insight problems that require recognizing a hidden pattern. People who sleep after being exposed to examples of the pattern are much more likely to suddenly grasp the solution compared to those who stay awake. Sleep, particularly REM sleep, facilitates the kind of creative recombination and abstraction that leads to insights and deeper understanding. The benefits of sleep for learning extend beyond passive consolidation. Recent research shows that learning can be enhanced during sleep itself using targeted memory reactivation. When people learn information paired with a specific sensory cue, like an odor or sound, replaying that cue during subsequent slow-wave sleep strengthens the associated memories. The cue during sleep reactivates the neural patterns from learning, causing the brain to prioritize consolidating that information. This technique has practical applications. Students could potentially pair study material with specific sounds or scents, then use those cues during sleep to boost retention. However, the effect works best during slow-wave sleep and can be disrupted if the cues wake the person or disturb sleep quality. The brain appears to have a narrow window during stage 3, when it is receptive to external cues without being aroused. Sleep deprivation has severe consequences for learning and memory. Even moderate sleep restriction, getting 6 hours instead of 8 for several nights, impairs memory consolidation, reduces attention, slows reaction times, and decreases the brain's ability to encode new information. People who are sleep deprived often do not realize how impaired they are, mistakenly believing they are functioning normally despite objective deficits. Chronic sleep deprivation, as experienced by many people in modern society, may have cumulative effects on brain health. Some research suggests that insufficient sleep over many years could contribute to cognitive decline and potentially increase dementia risk, though the mechanisms are not fully understood, and sleep problems could be an early symptom of neurodegeneration rather than solely a cause. The relationship between sleep and learning runs in both directions. Learning itself creates sleep pressure. When you engage in intensive learning, particularly learning motor skills or other procedurally complex information, your brain's need for sleep increases. The more you learn, the more sleep you need to consolidate those memories. This may explain why students often feel exhausted during exam periods and why children who are constantly learning need more total sleep than adults. The mystery of why we dream, theories and evidence. Despite decades of research, the ultimate purpose of dreaming remains one of neuroscience's enduring mysteries. We know dreaming happens. We know which brain regions are involved. We can describe its phenomenology in detail. But why evolution preserved this strange nightly theater? What function it serves that justifies its universal presence across humans and many animals continues to generate debate. The emotional regulation theory, as mentioned earlier, proposes that dreams help process and integrate emotional experiences. According to this view, REM sleep provides a neurobiological environment where emotional memories can be reactivated and modified, their connections to other memories strengthened or weakened, their immediate affective charge reduced. Evidence supporting this includes the heightened amygdala activity during a REM, the incorporation of emotionally significant waking experiences into dreams, and the finding that REM deprivation increases emotional reactivity. Matthew Walker, a prominent sleep researcher at the University of California, Berkeley, has described REM sleep as providing overnight therapy, a state where the brain can reprocess upsetting experiences in a low-stress neurochemical environment. During a REM, levels of noradrenaline, a stress-related neurotransmitter, drop to near zero. This creates conditions where emotional memories can be activated and worked through without triggering the full stress response, allowing gradual adaptation and emotional learning. The threat simulation theory offers an evolutionary perspective. Dreams, according to this view, serve as a biological defense mechanism, simulating threatening events so that threat avoidance skills can be rehearsed in a safe environment. Our ancestors who dreamed about predators, conflicts, and dangers, and who practiced responses during those dreams, may have been better prepared for real threats during waking life. Supporting evidence includes the prevalence of negative emotions and threatening content in dreams. Across cultures, nightmares and anxiety dreams are common, while purely positive dreams are relatively rare. Dreams often involve being chased, attacked, falling, or failing at important tasks. Even in modern environments largely free from physical predators, dreams continue to generate threats, suggesting an ancient adaptation that persists despite changed circumstances. However, critics note that many dreams lack obvious threatening content, and that the simulation theory does not explain why dreams are so often bizarre and unrealistic. If dreams are practice simulations, why are they so poorly matched to waking reality? Why dream about flying or talking to animals rather than realistic scenarios? The continuity hypothesis takes a different approach, proposing that dreams simply reflect waking concerns, preoccupations, and experiences. According to this view, dreams are not particularly special or functional. They are just what happens when the sleeping brain, with its altered neurochemistry and reduced sensory input, continues processing information using the same neural systems active during waking thought. Supporting this idea, dream content clearly relates to waking life. You dream about people you know, places you have been, activities you engage in. When you are stressed about work, you dream about work. When you are excited about a trip, you dream about travel. The continuity is obvious. Dreams may serve no specific function beyond being the natural byproduct of an active brain operating in an unusual state. The memory consolidation theory, already discussed in relation to learning, suggests dreams are the subjective experience of memory processing. What we experience as a dream narrative is our brain's attempt to interpret and make sense of the neural activity involved in memory replay, integration, and consolidation. The bizarre nature of dreams reflects the fact that memories are being accessed, combined, and reorganized in novel ways, creating associations that would not occur during logical waking thought. Evidence for this includes the clear relationship between learning and subsequent dream content, the finding that dream incorporation of learning predicts better memory retention, and the observation that dreams often combine recent and remote memories in ways that might facilitate integration of new information with existing knowledge structures. Some researchers propose that multiple theories may all be partially correct. Dreams may serve several functions simultaneously. The same dream that helps consolidate memories might also process emotions and simulate responses to challenges. The brain is massively parallel, capable of pursuing multiple objectives at once, and sleep is long enough for different functions to predominate at different times or in different stages. An alternative perspective suggests that focusing too much on the content and subjective experience of dreams may be misleading. Perhaps the important functions of REM sleep occur at the neurobiological level, in the specific patterns of neural activity, neurotransmitter dynamics, and gene expression that characterize this state. The dreams we experience might be epiphenomenal, interesting but not functionally significant, like the sound a computer makes while processing. The real work happens in the circuits, not in the subjective experience. However, this view struggles to explain why lucid dreaming, where conscious awareness alters the dream experience, sometimes produces measurable changes in brain activity patterns and potentially in subsequent waking behavior. If dreams were truly epiphenomenal, consciousness within them should have no effects. The fact that deliberate choices in lucid dreams can influence neural activity suggests the subjective experience is part of a functional process, not merely a byproduct. Cross-species comparisons offer additional clues. REM sleep has been documented in all mammals studied, though the proportion of time spent in REM varies dramatically. Opossums spend up to 8 hours per day in REM sleep. Cats show clear REM with characteristic muscle twitches and eye movements. Elephants have REM sleep, but relatively little compared to their total sleep time. Even some birds and reptiles show REM-like states, though whether they experience anything like human dreams remains unknown. Interestingly, marine mammals like dolphins and whales show little to no typical REM sleep, perhaps because the muscle paralysis of REM could be dangerous for creatures that must remain partially alert to surface and breathe. Yet these animals have large, complex brains and presumably need whatever functions REM provides. Either they accomplish those functions through different mechanisms, or they represent evolutionary adaptations that sacrificed REM because the costs, drowning, outweighed the benefits. Young animals of most species show elevated REM sleep compared to adults. Puppies and kittens spend enormous amounts of time in REM. Human infants enter REM directly after falling asleep, unlike adults who must progress through NREM stages first. This developmental pattern suggests RM likely plays important roles in brain maturation, perhaps facilitating the massive neural rewiring, pruning, and strengthening that occurs during early development. Researchers have observed that muscle twitches during REM sleep in young animals activate sensory cortex and motor regions in ways that appear to support sensory motor development. These twitches, once thought functionless, may provide crucial activity-dependent input that helps wire the developing brain. The motor commands produce sensory feedback, which could allow the nervous system to learn relationships between movement and sensation, though this interpretation remains an area of ongoing research. D'abord, sleep across the lifespan. sleep changes dramatically from birth through old age, reflecting the shifting needs and capabilities of the brain at different life stages. Understanding these changes illuminates how intimately sleep is tied to neural development, maintenance, and aging. Newborn infants sleep 16 to 18 hours per day, distributed across multiple periods, rather than consolidated into a single long nighttime sleep. Their sleep architecture differs fundamentally from adult patterns. Infants enter REM sleep directly, without passing through NREM stages first. They spend approximately 50% of their sleep time in REM, compared to 20 to 25% in adults. This elevated REM proportion likely relates to the explosive brain development occurring during infancy. Neural circuits are forming, refining, and organizing themselves at a rate never again matched in life. Synaptic connections grow and strengthen. Brain volume doubles in the first year. The intense neural activity during REM may support this growth, possibly providing stimulation and activity patterns that guide development even before the infant has extensive waking experiences to draw upon. Infant sleep cycles are much shorter than adult cycles, about 50 minutes instead of 90. This means babies transition between sleep stages more frequently, which contributes to their tendency to wake often during the night. The systems regulating sleep and wake are still maturing, not yet capable of sustaining long consolidated periods of either state. Around 4 to 6 months of age, slow-wave sleep begins to emerge as a distinct stage. The baby's sleep becomes more adult-like in structure, though still spread across multiple periods throughout the day and night. By 12 months, most infants sleep about 14 to 15 hours per day, with the majority concentrated at night and supplemented by 1 or 2 daytime naps. The transition from infant to toddler to child involves gradual reduction in total sleep time and increasing consolidation into a single nighttime period. By age 2 to 5, children typically sleep 11 to 13 hours per night, usually eliminating the last remaining daytime nap during this period. The proportion of REM sleep decreases gradually, approaching adult levels by school age. Children continue to spend more time in slow-wave sleep than adults, often diving quickly into stage 3 and remaining there for extended periods during early night cycles. This abundance of deep sleep supports the continued physical growth and brain development of childhood. Growth hormone pulses during stage 3 are larger and more frequent in children. Adolescence brings another dramatic shift. The hormonal changes of puberty alter sleep physiology in complex ways. Teenagers experience a delay in their circadian rhythm, the internal biological clock that regulates sleep-wake timing. This delay, called a phase shift, makes adolescents naturally inclined to stay up later at night and sleep later in the morning. It is not a choice or a discipline problem, but a biological change driven by alterations in melatonin secretion patterns. Unfortunately, early school start times conflict with this biological shift, forcing teenagers to wake before their brains are ready. The resulting chronic sleep deprivation during adolescence can have serious consequences for learning, emotional regulation, and mental health. Studies show that when schools shift to later start times, aligning better with adolescent biology, students show improved academic performance, reduced depression and anxiety, and even fewer car accidents involving teen drivers. Young adulthood represents the period when sleep patterns reach relative stability, Most adults settle into 7 to 9 hours per night, with individual variation based on genetics and lifestyle. The proportion of time spent in each sleep stage stabilizes at roughly 5% stage 1, 50% stage 2, 20% stage 3, and 25% REM. However, even in adulthood, sleep needs and patterns vary considerably between individuals. Some people are genetic short sleepers, functioning well on 6 hours or less without apparent ill effects. Others need 9 or more hours to feel fully rested. Morning chronotypes, sometimes called larks, naturally wake early and feel most alert in the morning. Evening chronotypes, night owls, prefer staying up late and sleeping later. These preferences have genetic components and cannot easily be changed through willpower alone. Middle age brings gradual changes. Total sleep time may decrease slightly. Sleep becomes more fragmented, with more frequent brief awakenings during the night. Though many of these awakenings are so brief that people do not remember them in the morning, slow wave sleep begins to decline, and this decline accelerates in older age. By age 60 and beyond, many people report that sleep feels less satisfying. They may spend plenty of time in bed, but wake feeling unrefreshed. Objective measurements often show reduced sleep efficiency, more time spent awake during the night, earlier morning awakening, and markedly decreased slow-wave sleep. Some elderly individuals show almost no stage 3 sleep at all, based on traditional scoring criteria, though slow-wave activity may still be present at levels below the threshold for stage 3 classification. The amplitude of delta waves decreases with age, possibly reflecting loss of neurons or reduced synchronization capacity. This reduction in slow-wave sleep may impair memory consolidation, contribute to cognitive changes, and reduce the brain's ability to clear metabolic waste. Some researchers believe interventions to enhance slow-wave sleep in older adults could help preserve cognitive function and potentially reduce dementia risk, though this remains an active area of investigation. Sleep disorders become more common with aging. Sleep apnea, where breathing repeatedly stops and starts during sleep, increases in prevalence. Restless leg syndrome and periodic limb movement disorder, causing uncomfortable sensations and involuntary leg movements that disrupt sleep, are more frequent in older adults. Insomnia, difficulty falling or staying asleep, affects a substantial proportion of elderly individuals. Medical conditions and medications complicate sleep in later life. Pain from arthritis or other conditions can interfere with sleep. Many medications used to treat age-related health problems have side effects that disrupt sleep architecture or cause daytime drowsiness. Caregivers for elderly patients report that sleep problems are among the most challenging aspects of providing care. Yet aging does not inevitably destroy sleep. Many older adults maintain good sleep quality through healthy sleep habits, regular exercise, treatment of underlying medical conditions, and attention to sleep environment. Research shows that when older adults are healthy, free from pain, and not taking sleep-disrupting medications, their sleep quality can be quite good, though different in structure from young adult sleep. The lifespan perspective on sleep reveals how intimately this process is woven into the fabric of life itself. Sleep changes because we change. The sleeping brain of an infant building itself from genetic instructions. The adolescent brain reorganizing for adult life. The adult brain maintaining itself amid the demands of daily living. The aging brain struggling to preserve function despite accumulating damage, each has different needs, and sleep adapts accordingly. Sleep disorders and what disrupts rest. While most people experience relatively normal sleep most of the time, millions struggle with conditions that prevent restful nights. Understanding these disorders illuminates what can go wrong with this essential process and how deeply sleep affects every aspect of health. Insomnia, the most common sleep disorder, involves persistent difficulty falling asleep, staying asleep, or waking too early. Occasional sleepless nights happen to everyone, but chronic insomnia, lasting months or years, affects roughly 10 to 15% of adults. The causes are varied and often complex. Stress, anxiety, depression, chronic pain, medications, caffeine, irregular schedules, and poor sleep habits can all contribute. What makes insomnia particularly frustrating is that worry about not sleeping often makes the problem worse. People with insomnia may lie awake watching the clock, calculating how many hours remain before they must wake, feeling increasingly anxious as time passes. This anxiety triggers arousal, making sleep even more elusive. The bed becomes associated with wakefulness and frustration rather than rest, creating a vicious cycle. Cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia has proven remarkably effective, often more so than sleeping pills. The therapy addresses the thoughts and behaviors that perpetuate sleeplessness. Patients learn sleep restriction, initially spending less time in bed to build sleep pressure, then gradually increasing time as sleep consolidates. They practice stimulus control, using the bed only for sleep and intimacy, getting up if unable to sleep within 20 minutes. They challenge anxious thoughts about sleep and learn relaxation techniques. Sleep apnea affects millions, many of whom remain undiagnosed. In this disorder, breathing repeatedly stops during sleep, sometimes hundreds of times per night. Each cessation triggers a brief arousal, just enough to restart breathing, but not enough to fully wake the person. They rarely remember these awakenings, yet their sleep is fragmented, never reaching deep restorative stages. The most common form, obstructive sleep apnea, occurs when throat muscles relax during sleep, allowing soft tissue to collapse and block the airway. Risk factors include obesity, thick neck circumference, enlarged tonsils, nasal congestion, and certain anatomical features. The condition is more common in men and increases with age. Untreated sleep apnea carries serious health risks. The repeated drops in blood oxygen strain the cardiovascular system. Over time, this can contribute to high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, and metabolic problems like diabetes. The chronic sleep fragmentation causes daytime sleepiness, difficulty concentrating, mood changes, and increased accident risk. The standard treatment involves continuous positive airway pressure, or CPAP, a machine that delivers pressurized air through a mask to keep airways open during sleep. While effective, many people find CPAP uncomfortable and discontinue treatment. Alternatives include oral appliances that reposition the jaw, positional therapy for people whose apnea occurs mainly when sleeping on their backs, weight loss, and in severe cases, surgery. Restless leg syndrome creates uncomfortable sensations in the legs, usually worse in the evening and at night, temporarily relieved by movement. People describe feelings of crawling, tingling, pulling, or aching deep in their legs. The urge to move can make falling asleep nearly impossible. Even after sleep onset, periodic limb movements may continue, disrupting sleep throughout the night. The exact cause remains unclear, though it appears related to iron metabolism and dopamine function in the brain. Certain medications can worsen symptoms, as can pregnancy, kidney failure, and peripheral neuropathy. Treatment often involves iron supplementation if deficiency is present, dopaminergic medications, and lifestyle modifications like avoiding caffeine and establishing regular sleep schedules. Narcolepsy is a neurological disorder characterized by excessive daytime sleepiness and disrupted nighttime sleep. People with narcolepsy experience sudden overwhelming urges to sleep at inappropriate times, falling asleep during conversations, meals, or while driving. Sleep attacks can occur multiple times per day. Many people with narcolepsy also experience cataplexy, sudden loss of muscle tone triggered by strong emotions like laughter or surprise. The person remains conscious but cannot move, collapsing if standing. Episodes last seconds to minutes. This symptom results from REM sleep mechanisms, specifically the muscle paralysis of REM, intruding into wakefulness. Other symptoms include sleep paralysis, waking unable to move for several minutes, and hypnagogic hallucinations, vivid, dreamlike experiences while falling asleep or waking. Narcolepsy results from loss of neurons that produce hypocretin, also called orexin, a neurotransmitter that regulates wakefulness. In most cases, this loss appears to involve autoimmune destruction. Treatment includes stimulant medications to promote daytime wakefulness, antidepressants to suppress cataplexy and other REM intrusions, and sodium oxybate, a medication that consolidates nighttime sleep and reduces daytime symptoms. Strategic naps and good sleep hygiene help as well. Circadian rhythm disorders occur when the internal biological clock misaligns with the external environment. Delayed sleep phase disorder, common in adolescents and young adults, involves a sleep-wake cycle shifted later than desired. People with this condition cannot fall asleep until very late, often 2 to 6 in the morning, then struggle to wake for school or work. If allowed to sleep on their preferred schedule, they sleep normally and feel rested. Advanced sleep phase disorder shows the opposite pattern, with people becoming sleepy in early evening and waking before dawn. This is more common in older adults. Both conditions can be treated with timed light exposure to shift the circadian rhythm, melatonin supplementation, and scheduled sleep-wake times. Shift work sleep disorder affects people whose work schedules conflict with their biological rhythms, particularly those who work in night shifts or rotating shifts. The body's circadian system strongly promotes sleep at night and wakefulness during the day. Fighting against this natural pattern leads to chronic sleep deprivation, difficulty sleeping during the day, and excessive sleepiness while working at night. Long-term health consequences can include increased risk for cardiovascular disease, metabolic disorders, gastrointestinal problems, and mood disturbances. Parasomnias are unusual behaviors that occur during sleep. Sleepwalking and sleep terrors emerge from deep NREM sleep, usually in the first third of the night. During sleep terrors, a person may sit up screaming, eyes wide with fear, heart racing, but is difficult to awaken and remembers nothing in the morning. These episodes are more common in children and usually resolve with age. REM sleep behavior disorder occurs when the muscle paralysis of REM fails, allowing people to act out their dreams physically. This typically affects older adults, and can be an early sign of neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's. People may punch, kick, jump from bed, potentially injuring themselves or bed partners. Treatment usually involves medications to suppress REM or restore muscle paralysis and creating a safe sleep environment. Understanding sleep disorders reveals how many systems must work correctly for normal sleep to occur. The brain centers that initiate and maintain sleep, the mechanisms that cycle through stages, the systems that regulate breathing and movement, the circadian clock that times sleep appropriately, all must function properly and coordinate seamlessly. When any component fails, sleep suffers, and with it, health and well-being. The science of sleep deprivation. What happens when you do not get enough sleep? The consequences ripple across every system in your body and mind, some appearing within hours, others accumulating over weeks or years. After a single night of poor sleep, the effects manifest quickly. Reaction times slow, attention wavers. You feel irritable and emotionally reactive, more sensitive to negative stimuli, while less responsive to positive ones. Your brain's prefrontal cortex, responsible for executive functions like planning, decision-making, and impulse control, functions less effectively. Meanwhile, the amygdala becomes hyperactive, processing emotions more intensely without adequate top-down regulation. Judgment deteriorates. Sleep-deprived people make riskier decisions, underestimate dangers, and overestimate their own capabilities. They often lack insight into their impairment, believing they are functioning normally, even as performance measurably declines. This combination of reduced ability and reduced awareness makes sleep deprivation particularly dangerous in situations requiring alertness, like driving or operating machinery. Memory formation suffers dramatically. The hippocampus, which encodes new memories, becomes less efficient when sleep deprived. Studies show that staying awake all night after learning reduces memory retention by 40% or more compared to sleeping normally. Even partial sleep restriction, getting only 4 to 6 hours for several consecutive nights, significantly impairs the brain's ability to consolidate new information. Mood changes appear quickly and predictably. Sleep deprivation increases negative emotional states, irritability, anxiety, and depressive symptoms. The brain systems that regulate emotion become dysregulated. Positive experiences feel less rewarding. Minor frustrations feel overwhelming. Relationships suffer as patience wears thin and emotional control weakens. Metabolism and appetite regulation change with inadequate sleep. Hormones that control hunger become imbalanced. Ghrelin, which stimulates appetite, increases. Leptin, which signals fullness, decreases. The result is increased hunger, particularly cravings for high-calorie, high-carbohydrate foods. Sleep-deprived people consume more calories, yet feel less satisfied. Over time, chronic sleep restriction contributes to weight gain and increases the risk of obesity and type 2 diabetes. The immune system weakens. During sleep, the body produces cytokines, proteins that help fight infection and inflammation. Sleep deprivation reduces production of these protective molecules and decreases the activity of immune cells. Studies show that people who sleep less than 7 hours per night are 3 times more likely to develop a cold when exposed to rhinovirus compared to those sleeping 8 hours or more. Cardiovascular stress accumulates. Blood pressure fails to dip as it normally would during sleep. Heart rate variability, a marker of cardiovascular health, decreases. Inflammation increases. Chronic sleep restriction is associated with elevated risk for hypertension, heart attack, and stroke. Even a single night of short sleep can measurably affect blood vessel function. Pain perception intensifies. Sleep deprivation lowers pain thresholds, making people more sensitive to discomfort. For those with chronic pain conditions, inadequate sleep worsens symptoms, creating a difficult cycle where pain disrupts sleep and poor sleep amplifies pain. Motor coordination and physical performance decline. Athletes who sleep less than 8 hours show reduced performance in speed, accuracy, and endurance. Injury risk increases. Recovery from training becomes less efficient. Professional sports teams have recognized these effects, with many now prioritizing sleep as a crucial component of athletic performance. Chronic sleep restriction, defined as regularly getting less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours per night, creates cumulative deficits that mount over time. Sleep debt builds like financial debt, and the interest compounds. After a week of sleeping 6 hours per night, cognitive impairment equals that seen after staying awake for 24 hours straight. Yet most chronically sleep-deprived people have adapted to feeling tired and no longer recognize how impaired they are. The long-term health consequences of chronic sleep deprivation are serious and well documented. Increased risk for cardiovascular disease, stroke, diabetes, obesity, weakened immune function, accelerated cognitive decline, mood disorders, and even certain cancers have all been linked to insufficient sleep over years or decades. Can you catch up on lost sleep? Weekend sleep-ins help somewhat, reducing immediate impairment and allowing some recovery. However, research suggests that chronic sleep debt cannot be fully repaid by occasional longer sleep periods. The damage accumulates in ways that extra sleep cannot completely reverse. Prevention, maintaining adequate sleep consistently, appears far more effective than attempting to compensate later. Modern society often treats sleep as optional, a luxury rather than a necessity. Work cultures that glorify long hours and minimal rest, technology that keeps us connected and stimulated around the clock, artificial light that disrupts natural circadian rhythms, all conspire to reduce sleep. Yet the science is unequivocal. Sleep is not negotiable. The brain requires it. The body demands it. Cutting sleep consistently extracts a real and measurable cost. Study Ching, Dreams Across Cultures and History. Long before neuroscience could explain REM sleep and brain imaging, humans wondered about dreams. Every culture developed frameworks to understand these nightly visions, and those frameworks reveal as much about human hopes, fears, and beliefs as they do about sleep itself. Ancient Mesopotamian texts, among the oldest written records of human civilization, contain extensive dream accounts and interpretation guides. Dreams were considered messages from the gods, warnings, prophecies, or divine communications requiring careful interpretation by priests trained in dream analysis. Kings consulted dream interpreters before making major decisions. Dream omens influenced military campaigns, construction projects, and political alliances. Ancient Egyptian culture similarly viewed dreams as spiritually significant. The Chester Beatty Papyrus, dating to around 1200 BCE, lists dreams and their meanings, functioning as an early dream dictionary. Egyptians believed that gods revealed themselves through dreams, and they practiced dream incubation, sleeping in temples, hoping to receive divine guidance or healing visions. In ancient Greece, dreams held both religious and medical significance. The god Asclepius, associated with healing, communicated treatment instructions through dreams. Sick people would sleep in temples dedicated to Asclepius, hoping for therapeutic dreams. Physicians like Hippocrates also considered dreams diagnostically useful, believing they could reveal imbalances in the body before symptoms appeared during waking hours. Greek philosophers debated the nature and meaning of dreams. Aristotle proposed that dreams arose from residual sensory impressions, denying supernatural origins while recognizing their psychological significance. He noted that dreams often reflected recent experiences and concerns, an observation that modern research has confirmed. Indigenous cultures worldwide developed rich dream traditions. Many Native American tribes considered dreams sacred, a realm where one could communicate with spirits, ancestors, and animal guides. Vision quests involve intentional dream experiences, often facilitated by fasting, isolation, or sacred plants, seeking spiritual insight and direction for important life decisions. Australian Aboriginal peoples have practiced dream-based spirituality for tens of thousands of years. The dream time or dreaming refers to a spiritual dimension where ancestral beings created the world, and this realm remains accessible through dreams. Certain individuals trained in dream interpretation and navigation serve as intermediaries between ordinary reality and the dreaming. Tibetan Buddhism developed sophisticated dream yoga practices aimed at achieving lucid awareness during dreams as part of spiritual development. Practitioners train to recognize the dreamlike nature of all experience, using dreams as a laboratory for exploring consciousness and preparing for death, which they view as a transition similar to dreaming. Islamic tradition treats certain dreams as potentially significant. Prophet Muhammad reportedly received some revelations through dreams, and Islamic scholars distinguish between ordinary dreams, which reflect daily concerns, and true dreams, which may carry spiritual meaning. Dream interpretation within Islamic frameworks follows principles outlined in religious texts and scholarly traditions. Medieval European Christianity held ambivalent views of dreams. Some were considered divine messages, particularly those experienced by saints. Others were suspected of demonic origin. The Church discouraged excessive attention to dreams, concerned that people might be misled by false visions. Yet dreams feature prominently in biblical narratives, from Jacob's ladder to Joseph's prophetic dreams to the angel's appearance to Mary. The Enlightenment brought more secular approaches to dreams. Rather than divine or demonic origins, philosophers and early psychologists proposed that dreams reflected the mind's natural processes. Dreams became objects of scientific curiosity rather than spiritual revelation, though their meaning and function remained mysterious. Sigmund Freud's 1900 publication of The Interpretation of Dreams marked a turning point in Western dream theory. Freud proposed that dreams represented wish fulfillment, unconscious desires disguised in symbolic form to evade the conscious mind's censorship. While many of Freud's specific theories have been abandoned or modified, his central insight that dreams carry psychological meaning and reflect unconscious mental processes influenced decades of psychological thought. Carl Jung, Freud's contemporary and later rival, developed an alternative framework viewing dreams as communications from the unconscious to the conscious mind. Jung believed dreams compensated for one-sided conscious attitudes, offering balance and wisdom. He emphasized universal symbols and archetypes appearing across cultures, suggesting dreams accessed a collective unconscious shared by all humanity. Modern neuroscience has largely moved away from viewing dreams as coded messages requiring interpretation. Instead, dreams are seen as the subjective experience of brain activity during sleep, specifically the result of the sleeping brain trying to make sense of spontaneous neural activation. Yet this neurobiological understanding does not invalidate the psychological significance many people find in dreams. Research shows that dream content does relate meaningfully to waking concerns, emotions, and experiences. Dreams are not random noise, but reflect the dreamer's life, personality, preoccupations, and emotional state. While a dream about flying probably does not symbolize sexual desire, as Freud might have suggested, it may relate to feelings about freedom, constraint, or ambition in the dreamer's life. Different cultures dream somewhat differently, not in basic sleep architecture, but in dream content and how dreams are remembered and discussed. Cultural beliefs about dreams influence which dreams are noticed, shared, and considered significant. In cultures where dreams are spiritually important, people pay more attention to dreams and remember them more frequently. In cultures that dismiss dreams as meaningless, dream recall may be lower simply because dreams are not valued. This cross-cultural variation suggests that while the biological substrate of dreaming is universal, human beings across cultures construct meaning differently. Dreams become whatever a culture believes them to be, whether divine messages, psychological symbols, neural noise, or creative inspiration. The gentle return to stillness. As our journey through the mysteries of sleep and dreams draws to a close, we can begin to appreciate just how extraordinary this nightly transformation really is. Every evening, without conscious effort, your brain executes one of the most complex and precisely coordinated processes in all of biology. Neurons in your brainstem and hypothalamus engage in intricate dance, promoting sleep networks, inhibiting wake networks, adjusting neurotransmitter levels, and orchestrating the cyclical progression through sleep stages. Your conscious experience fades not into simple darkness, but into a rich landscape of internal activity. Your brain rehearses memories, integrates emotions, clears waste products, repairs tissues, regulates hormones, and generates elaborate simulations of reality we call dreams. All of this unfolds automatically, guided by ancient mechanisms refined over hundreds of millions of years of evolution. The universality of sleep across the animal kingdom testifies to its fundamental importance. From the simplest creatures showing rest-like states to humans spending a third of our lives unconscious, sleep persists because life cannot do without it. The specific functions vary: memory consolidation in humans, brain development in infants, perhaps simpler processes in simpler organisms. But the core need remains. We have explored how sleep stages form a repeating architecture throughout the night, how REM sleep generates dreams through activation of visual and emotional brain regions while paralyzing the body, how slow-wave sleep provides deep restoration and memory consolidation, how lucid dreaming represents a hybrid state where consciousness persists within the dream. We have seen how sleep supports learning, emotional regulation, and physical health in ways that remain irreplaceable by any waking activity. Yet mysteries remain. We still do not fully understand why sleep evolved in the first place, why the brain requires such profound changes in consciousness to accomplish its restorative work, or why dreams take the specific bizarre forms they do. We do not know how to perfectly measure or predict individual sleep needs, why some people thrive on minimal sleep while others require much more, or how to fully prevent the decline of sleep quality with aging. Science continues to advance. New technologies, high-density electroencephalography, functional magnetic resonance imaging, optogenetics that allows researchers to activate specific neurons with light, are providing unprecedented views into the sleeping brain. Large-scale studies tracking thousands of people over many years are revealing how sleep patterns relate to health outcomes. Innovations like lucid dreaming apps and targeted memory reactivation are beginning to harness sleep for practical benefits. Perhaps most exciting are the emerging possibilities for two-way communication with dreamers and for engineering beneficial dream experiences. The boundary between waking intervention and sleeping experience is becoming more permeable. We may be approaching a future where dreams can be guided, where nightmares can be reliably prevented or transformed, where learning during sleep becomes a normal part of education, where the unconscious hours of night become accessible territory for exploration and growth. But for now, the most important thing is simply to honor sleep. In a culture that often treats sleep as an inconvenience, a theft of productive time, a weakness to be overcome with caffeine and willpower, understanding the science of sleep provides a necessary correction. Sleep is not wasted time. It is essential time. It is when your brain performs maintenance that cannot happen while you are awake. It is when memories solidify, when emotions integrate, when your mind prepares for another day of learning and experience. So tonight, when you feel sleepiness arriving, welcome it. Do not fight the pull of dreams. Trust the ancient systems that have guided countless generations into rest and brought them safely back to morning. Close your eyes knowing that your brain knows exactly what to do, that it will carry you through the necessary stages, that it will clean and restore and organize, and that you will wake renewed. If you have found value in this exploration of sleep and dreams, I hope you will take a moment to like this video, to subscribe to the Silent Scientist channel for more gentle journeys through the wonders of science, and to share your thoughts or experiences in the comments below. Your support helps these quiet conversations reach others who seek understanding, wrapped in calm. For now, let these thoughts settle like snow on still water. Let your mind release its grip on details and drift towards softness. Sleep is waiting, patient and reliable as it has always been. It asks nothing of you but surrender. And in that surrender, in those quiet hours away from the world, your brain will do its most essential work. The mysteries we have explored tonight, the cycling stages, the vivid dreams, the memory consolidation, the emotional processing, all of it happens without your conscious participation, guided by mechanisms older than language, older than culture, older than humanity itself. You need only let go and trust the process. So breathe deeply now. Feel the weight of your body settling into rest. Notice how your thoughts are already beginning to fragment and drift, how the boundary between waking and sleeping grows thin and permeable. You are approaching the threshold, that liminal space where consciousness fades and dreams begin. In a few moments, you will cross into sleep. Your eyes will close and stay closed. Your breathing will slow into the deep rhythm of slumber. Your brain waves will shift from waking beta to drowsy alpha, to sleeping theta, to the long, slow delta swells of deep sleep. And then, perhaps an hour later, your eyes will begin their rapid dance beneath closed lids, and you will dream. What you will dream, no one can predict. Perhaps you will fly. Perhaps you will return to places from your past. Perhaps you will work through the concerns of your day in symbolic form. Or perhaps your mind will spin something entirely new from the vast web of memories and associations it contains. Whatever arrives, it will be yours alone, a private theater where you are simultaneously audience and performer, observer and observed. And when morning comes, when the cycling stages complete their final iteration, and your brain begins the gentle ascent toward waking, you will open your eyes to a new day. Much of the night will have vanished from memory. You may recall fragments of dreams, or you may remember nothing at all. But whether you remember or not, the work will have been done. Your brain will be restored, your memories consolidated, your emotions processed, your body repaired. Sleep is the gift evolution gave us, the nightly journey we all must take, the mysterious necessity that binds all dreaming creatures together. It costs us consciousness, but returns us strengthened. It takes our days and distills them into wisdom. It asks us to trust in processes we cannot see or control, and in return, it gives us life itself. Thank you for sharing this journey into the quiet mysteries of sleep and dreams. May your own sleep tonight be deep and restorative. May your dreams be whatever you need them to be. And may you wake refreshed, carrying forward the wonder of what happens in those precious hours when you close your eyes and surrender to the night. Rest well, curious dreamer. Rest well. Good night.